What's going on, guys? Matthew back again, this time for another movie review. Today we're reviewing Speak No Evil. Let's get into it. Starting with the plot, this plot basically revolves around a married couple with a daughter. They are having a difficult marriage due to the husband not really being the man that he should be. They are on vacation in Italy when they come across another married couple who have a son of their own, and they seem to be a much more enthusiastic and happy couple than they are. They meet them at dinner and they kind of make friends with them. And clearly the wife thinks the husband of that couple is a little awkward at times. They make a point to show her expressions a lot throughout this movie to get across the fact that she thinks he's kind of awkward and strange. But they meet this couple, and then they go back home to England, where they get something in the mail from the couple, hoping that they would go and stay with the couple they met in Italy at their house. And thinking that they need some time away from home to work on their marriage, they accept the invitation. And basically, the plot just revolves around these parents not being very smart. And they go and stay with this couple who they barely know. And basically, the entire second act is nothing but awkward and uncomfortable situations between the protagonist couple and the other couple that they met in Italy. And there's very clearly something strange going on with the couple that they met in Italy. They have this son that never speaks, and even at one point walks outside and shows the protagonist's father his tongue, sticks it out at him, and clearly something's going on. This couple is very frustrating, but I think that's the intention of the movie. They're not very smart people, and they're very worried about being impolite. They have multiple opportunities to get away from this very strange couple, which they obviously should have taken, considering the third act where everything goes crazy. And for anybody with a brain, it ends up exactly where you think it would. I believe the third act of this movie justifies the first and second act, even though anyone with a brain would disagree with the way that these parents handle everything. For example, at the beginning of the movie when they're in Italy, the strange father of the boy who cannot speak offers to take their daughter on a ride on his moped. And the mother even asks, like, do you have a helmet? And he says, oh, no, it'd be okay. Even then, you would say, no helmet, no ride. But they decided to let him take their daughter on a ride on a moped. And even as he drives off, he goes around a corner. He could have easily thrown their daughter in like a van, and they could have never seen their daughter again. And that's not the only time. There's another time later in the second act, after they find their daughter in bed with the other couple, they decide they're going to leave really early in the morning, and they're really scared of offending the couple, which nobody would be. Any parent with a brain would not be worried about insulting them after they found their own daughter in bed with them. So they leave, and then because the daughter has some kind of issue where she has to have this bunny, this toy bunny with her at all times. Otherwise, she freaks out and starts to scratch herself. I believe this has a lot to do with her father not being the man that he should be. I'm sure there's some psychological aspect as to why this relates to him not being the man that he needs to be. And him not being the man that he needs to be is also the reason that his wife has been texting other men and sexting them pictures with other men. It all stems from him not being the man that he needs to be, which I kind of thought would be the theme of this movie, that it would be that the father's arc would be that he would start out as a coward and then learn how to be the father that he needs to be, how to be the husband that he needs to be to protect his family. But the movie never really goes there, other than one moment where he jumps off a roof to hurt his ankle to get a ladder for his family to escape. That's the only thing that he ever really does that is considered fatherly or husbandry or manly at all. So like I said, the plot entirely revolves around these parents being stupid, which you could say is a negative. I would say that it adds to the tension of the movie, and it certainly does. The whole time you're invested because of the children involved. You want the children to get out safely. If this was just two married couples with no children, there wouldn't be really any stakes because you wouldn't feel bad for the protagonist couple at all because they keep making repeated dumb decisions that put their lives at risk. I'm kind of torn on what score to give the plot because of what the plot relies on, but I think I'll save that for the writing. I'm going to give this plot a 9 out of 10 because it did a good job of making the audience feel uncomfortable and tense the whole time. You know that something's going on, and you just wish the parents would just leave. But unfortunately, you won't have a movie if they did leave, so they have to stick around. Let's go ahead and jump into the writing. This is kind of where I want to touch on why the parents stick around and how I think that it could have been done better. Multiple times, these parents have an opportunity or a good reason to leave. I'll touch base a bit. I'll touch back on the one about the bunny. At one point, like I said earlier, they find the mother finds their daughter in bed with the other parents, which is very strange to say the least. So she says that we're going to leave. Excuse me, we're going to leave immediately. They pack up their things and they leave in the morning while the other couple is sleeping. But then they find out that the bunny has been left behind. And the dad throughout the movie has been telling his daughter that, you're almost 12. It's time to let this bunny go. You have to let go of this bunny. And so she's scratching herself and freaking out. And he decides to turn around. And I just feel like when it comes to the writing of this movie, you should have come up with a better reason for them to have not only decided to go there, but to stay there. These parents are so stupid, and I wish that I could have gotten on board with them, but I never really could have. I'm really just invested in these children. But they go back to get the bunny, and they explain that they found, or that the mother found, their daughter in bed with the couple. And it's at this moment that the other wife of the strange couple kind of breaks down and cries and talks about how they had a daughter that died, I think like right after she was born. And so that's the reason. And so the protagonist couple is sympathetic to that. So much so that they decide to stay another entire day and hang out with them. And it just all feels very unrealistic. I really wish that the writers involved could have found a more realistic approach to why these parents would stick around. If I would have found these parents to be smart, I feel like I would have been more invested in them staying alive, and the tension would have been even stronger. Unfortunately, that's not the case. The strange couple is just so obviously strange and weird, and they take every opportunity to make things strange and weird. Ultimately, for the strange couple, that does come to fruition in the end when one of the accomplices of the strange couple asks the father, like, why do you have to play with your food before you eat it? Which really does make sense when you go back to the second act and you see the way that James McAvoy's character is treating them. Even at one point, there's a very humorous moment where they're in the car. It's just him and the other father, and they're driving somewhere, I think, to go hunting. And James McAvoy is singing the song on the radio and is constantly looking at the husband, just making him feel strange and uncomfortable. And it's all for James McAvoy's character's amusement. He just gets off on it, which I think is very funny when you look back on it, given the fact that his accomplice asked him, why do you always have to play with your food? Like, it's never enough just to have the family enter your home, have them transmit their money, and then take them out. So it does make the entire second act make sense from the crazy parents' perspective, but from the protagonist parents' perspective, it's still an issue. Given all of the opportunities that these protagonist parents have to leave this place, or even really to go there in the first place, they barely knew these people. I think they only hung out with them with probably less than a week in Italy. To take your daughter there and spend the night with them for a weekend when you barely know them is just extremely ill-advised and stupid. But I'm going to have to give the writing a 7 out of 10. It's not there when it comes to giving me a reason to pull for these parents or even relate to them in any way. So yeah, I'm going to have to give the writing a 7. Moving to the cinematography, I really had no issues with the cinematography in this movie. There are plenty of great shots in Italy and plenty of great shots of the countryside in England. At one point, they go hunting and hiking through the woods, and the cinematographer and director use this for a great opportunity to show the English countryside. And also, I want to say that the house that they're staying at for the majority of this movie, I believe that's the same house from Children of Men, where the rebels were hiding out. I'm like 95% sure on that. And that is a really neat house. They do a good job of shooting the interior of that house. It's almost like a maze with how many different rooms there are, and there's different floors to it. And especially in the third act, when they're hiding from the crazed parents, it really comes into play with how janky the inside of that house is, and how there are different places to hide and sneak up on people and surprise people. So I'm going to have to give the cinematography a 10 out of 10 on this one. Okay, so moving to the acting is very good. I had no issues really with any actor or actress in this movie. I do want to give a shout out to the kid who played the crazed parents' son, or quote unquote son, who had his tongue cut out. He does a very good job in this movie, especially not being able to speak any words. He emotes very well. You understand that he's very frightened and trying to warn this family of what they're stepping into. I do want to give him a shout out. He did a very good job. As for everyone else, they were very serviceable. There was no issues. And of course, you have to talk about, if you're going to talk about the acting, you have to talk about James McAvoy. He's really great in this movie. You can tell he's having a really good time. That he had an opportunity to to play a crazy, angry person, and he took full advantage of it and did a really great job. I can't speak highly enough of James McAvoy in this movie. He is obviously the star of the movie. He's on the poster. His name's on the poster, but he's basically the movie. You're going to see him act crazy and be scary and intimidate everyone on the screen and in the audience. He's very good in this movie. I have to also give the acting a 10 out of 10. And finally, the pace. The pace, I did have an issue when I was watching the movie. The second act felt like it took forever because it's literally nothing but uncomfortable and awkward moment after uncomfortable and awkward moment, just over and over and over and over again. But I have to say that it does all come to fruition in the third act. The third act delivers, and it does make the second act feel like it was necessary. It's all building up to that third act where things finally explode and everything is understood. And going back to that one moment in the writing when the accomplice asked James McAvoy, why do you have to play with your food before you eat it? That makes the entire second act make sense. So as for the pace, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 just because during the second act, I was having issues understanding, like, okay, so when are we going to get to what I saw in the trailer, to all the action and everything? But when the movie rolled credits, I understood then what the second act was all about. It was just about winding up that tension until finally getting to the third act and exploding. So yeah, I'm going to have to give the pace a 9 out of 10. So all in all, I have to give this movie a 9 out of 10. I do recommend going to see it, if for no other reason than just for James McAvoy's performance. He is the movie, in my opinion, basically. Not to disparage any of the other actors. They all did a good job. And I can't speak enough about how frustrating the protagonist's father was. But that was by design. And I have to credit that actor for doing what he was supposed to do. He was a coward in this movie, and it was extremely frustrating. Many moments in this movie, the wife had to take charge and protect the family while he stood there cowering. It was very frustrating, but again, that's the point of his character, and he did a good job. All the actors did a good job, but like I said, 9 out of 10. I do recommend going to see it. I would go to a matinee. But anyway, those are my thoughts on the movie, guys. Did you see it? Let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts on it? Please hit that like button, subscribe, and we'll catch you guys next time. Take it easy.